He could buy half the city, but the first thing he ever wanted was the one thing that looked him in the eye and said no. I was wiping rain from the front window of Bennett's Books when the black town car stopped at the curb like it owned the block. Men like Adrian Vale didn't come to neighborhoods like mine unless they wanted something cleaned up, signed over, or silenced. He stepped out in a charcoal coat worth more than my monthly rent, carrying an envelope thick enough to change my life. I pushed it back across the counter. His eyes dropped to the envelope, then back to me, calm and unreadable, like he was not used to anyone returning anything to him. Rain tapped against the glass. The old radiator hissed behind the register. I could smell dust, paper, and the coffee I had reheated twice that morning. "You should take it," he said quietly. His voice did not rise, but the room still felt smaller. I folded my arms and shook my head. "Money is easy for men like you," I told him. "Living with yourself is harder." For the first time, Adrian Vale did not look powerful. He looked surprised and somehow interested. I should have looked away first, but something in his silence held me there. Outside, a city bus groaned past the window, splashing rain against the curb. Inside my shop, the clock above the poetry shelf clicked loud enough to feel personal. Adrian rested one gloved hand on the counter, not threatening, not careless, just certain. Men like him were always certain. "Then tell me what this is about," he said. I let out a breath I had been holding since the car appeared. "It is about the fact that you think everything broken can be fixed with cash." His gaze sharpened. "And you do not." "No," I said. "Some things need honesty first." The envelope stayed between us like a dare neither of us wanted to touch again. I could hear Mrs. Alvarez in the back sorting donated paperbacks for the Saturday literacy drive, her soft humming floating through the cracked doorway. That was my world. Secondhand shelves, leaky pipes, people who gave what they could and stayed anyway. Adrian glanced past me, taking it all in with those cool gray eyes, and I knew he had never stood in a place where money was not the loudest voice in the room. "Honesty," he repeated, almost to himself. Then he looked at me again. "All right, Claire, tell me what I am not seeing." I looked at him, at the coat that still carried the cold of the street, at the man who had probably never waited in line for rent money or counted quarters for bus fare, and I almost laughed from the distance between us. Then I pointed toward the back room where Mrs. Alvarez was stacking books for kids whose parents worked 2 jobs and still came up short. "You are seeing a building," I said softly. "I am seeing names, birthdays, reading lists, people who trust me not to sell their hard days back to them wrapped in charity." Something shifted in his face then, small but real. He finally understood this was not about pride. It was about dignity. He lowered his eyes for 1 second, just one, but it was enough to make the room feel different. Not softer, just real. The rain had slowed outside, leaving silver streaks on the glass and a thin gray light over the shelves. Adrian picked up the envelope, turned it once in his hand, then set it inside his coat without another word. I expected anger, a threat, a cold smile. Instead, he studied the children reading by the back window and asked, almost carefully, "How long have you been keeping this place alive?" I swallowed, suddenly unsure why that question unsettled me more than the money ever had. I should have answered right away, but the truth sat heavy in my chest, tangled with years I did not usually hand to strangers. I ran my fingers along the worn edge of the counter and looked past him to the children by the window, their heads bent over books with cracked spines and borrowed time. "Since my father died," I said quietly, 7 years, 3 months, and too many late notices to count." Adrian did not interrupt. He just stood there, still as winter, listening in a way that felt unfamiliar on a man like him. Then one little boy waved at him, and to my shock, Adrian waved back. The gesture should have meant nothing. A polite reflex. An accident. But the boy grinned like he had spotted something rare, and Adrian looked almost startled by his own. Hand still lifted in the air. Mrs. Alvarez noticed too. I saw it in the way her humming stopped for half a beat before she smiled and went back to sorting books. The whole store felt quieter after that, as if everyone had sensed a shift none of us knew how to name yet. Adrian glanced at me, and there was no command in his face now, only a question he had not learned how to ask. That unsettled me more than anything. I should have told him to leave then. That would have been the smart thing. Men like Adrian Vale did not linger without a reason, and reasons like his usually came wrapped in consequences no one saw until it was too late. But he stayed where he was, beside the front table of discounted classics, while evening light thinned across the floorboards. Then the bell over the door rang, and old Mr. Holloway shuffled in with his cane and his 73 cents for the used mystery novel he had been eyeing all week. Before I could speak, Adrian reached for his wallet, and I said his name like a warning. In this dark romance, a powerful mafia boss steps into a quiet neighborhood expecting obedience and finds something far more dangerous: a woman with dignity. When the bookstore owner refuses his money, she forces him to face a world built on trust, sacrifice, and human connection instead of control. Their clash of values turns into a slow-burning dark romance filled with tension, emotional restraint, and unforgettable atmosphere. As the mafia boss watches children read by old windows and listens to lives that cannot be bought, he begins to understand that some hearts only open to honesty. The bookstore owner, guarded but compassionate, sees the first cracks in a man shaped by power. This dark romance explores pride, class contrast, and the fragile line between protection and possession. With cinematic emotion, subtle yearning, and a deep moral pull, this dark romance delivers a rich dark romance where dignity becomes the strongest force of all. Character 1, 28-year-old white American woman, bookstore owner, front-facing portrait, light brown hair, green eyes, cream sweater, navy apron, modest elegant style, calm resilient expression, soft natural lighting, realistic skin texture, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration, studio quality. Character 2, 34-year-old white American mafia boss, front-facing portrait, dark hair brushed back, cool gray eyes, sharp jawline, charcoal overcoat, black suit, polished elegant style, controlled expression, realistic skin texture, cinematic lighting, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration. 5. A warm but emotionally significant cinematic scene inside the bookstore during community reading hour. Both main characters present. No cartoon. Character 1, the white bookstore owner in her late 20s with light brown hair, green eyes, cream sweater, and navy apron, is kneeling beside a child with gentle patience and quiet kindness, her expression soft but still guarded. Character 2, the white mafia boss in his mid-30s with dark hair brushed back, cool gray eyes, charcoal coat, and black tailored suit, stands a few feet away near a shelf of discounted classics, visibly out of place in the humble setting yet trying to remain composed. His expression should show subtle hesitation, curiosity, and the first believable crack in his emotional armor as a child looks up and smiles at him. The bookstore is filled with warm yellow light, old wooden shelves, paperbacks, reading rugs, and a softly blurred older woman in the background sorting donated books. Dust in the light, worn floorboards, and stacked novels create a believable neighborhood atmosphere. The emotional focus is not romance, but human change. A powerful man entering a gentle world he does not understand. Realistic American community bookstore, cinematic intimacy, natural body language, no poster, no caption, no illustration, no CGI, no cartoon, realistic skin texture, heartfelt dramatic mood. 1-2.